All right, family, welcome back to another Monday Parent Power Hour. Thank you for tuning in. We are joined once again with esteemed faces, different faces, but esteemed faces, for early friends of the program faces, like Mr. Oroke, Mr. Wyatt. Um, so good to have you all here. We're going to talk about how the first week of school has been so far with the perspective of one of our brightest and best scholars in the city, as well as one of our brightest and best educators in the city, and wonderful parents like Miss Ross to join us as well. But before we begin, let me introduce everyone. We'll start with young people first. Miss Tajay, who is a queen and a scholar, one of the best in the city, and who happens to be the daughter of the face of the franchise, Mr. Tyrone Barwell. We have also Miss Kenyarda Ross, one of our outstanding parent organizers and thinkers from Teachers Democracy Project, and Mr. Wyatt Oroke, one of the brightest and best. If you join us for an early podcast, I think it was podcast number 2 or 3, you were certainly enlightened by the insights that he offered us. So welcome one, welcome all to the show. Family, here is a connection question. So if you had a superpower, I'm only going to give you 2, either flying or teleportation abilities. Which one would it be? I'm going to start with Tajay. I want to know, Tajay, give me the voice of the people, the young people today, the young students today. What would the young students of today pick? Flying or transportation, Tajay? What do you say?
I think I would pick teleportation.
Teleportation. Okay. Okay. Can I push you as to why teleportation over flying?
Yes, teleportation could be faster and easier. So I think that would be a good one to choose.
Look at that. Look at that. And if that's any indication of how she answers the more difficult inquiry of the day, this city is in good shape. Miss Ross Kenyarda, what do you say? Flying or teleporting?
I would have to agree with Tajay. I would also say teleportation. Um, to me, like she said, also that flying seems like it would take a bit more time, but teleportation, you can almost kind of be omnipresent in the sense, like probably wouldn't take no time to get there.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rook, how about you, sir?
So I actually asked this question to my scholars last Thursday, and I said, then what I'll say today is flying. I think it just sounds so cool and like so much fun to fly, and so I would definitely select flying.
And I am 100% with you, family. As we know, we're going to let Tyrone answer last, as he is welcoming you all, as he's opened the door for you all to come on into the show. I agree, Wyatt, I'm not in a rush, just to be able to get up and see all the different perspective to be airborne, going up as high or low, I don't know, it's just amazing. See birds, and I think about it all the time, what it would be like to be airborne on your own volition. Tyrone, how about you, sir?
I I think I would definitely go with Taja and Kenyatta and go with teleportation. And for me it would be the element of surprise. Right, like just to be right there, like that's what's cool to me. To just be right here on the podcast. So like we're on Zoom, and if I could teleport from my house to Mr. Wyatt's house and be right behind him really quick, you know what I mean? Like I just think that is like so dope. So that's why I would choose teleportation.
All right, thank you all so much for giving us your answers. Family, Tyrone is awaiting you to put in your answers in the chat and all the different networking that you're on. We're going to get right down to it. This is a great topic, a topic we're actually looking forward to because it just takes on more meaning this year, this fall, back to school. than it had even just a year ago. And so, Tajay, we're going to start with you. As a student, what did you think of your first week of school?
To be honest, it was most likely pretty chaotic. It was very hard to get the understanding of everything and to, just to start it and to be on virtual. It was pretty hard because it could be technical difficulties, it could be stuff going wrong at the moment. Um, it was some teachers who wanted to make sure your face was on the camera so they could know you were there. It was people who had a lot of background noise and stuff, and it was a whole mix up with our classes. So, people who were supposed to be in this class was in this class. And then some of my teachers wasn't even popping up on Google Classroom. It was a lot. And, you missed some of the stuff because you missed the introductions, you missed what book we supposed to be reading because the teachers wasn't there. It was a lot. So
Thank you, Tajay. So Tajay, you eloquently stated the facts. How did that make you feel?
I had to say pretty frustrated. And like I was going crazy because I really wanted to do good this year. And I didn't want to miss anything or, start off on a bad foot with so I didn't get introductions.
All right, thank you. And then so Tajay, one more question for you. How did you get past that stress? What did you do, even though all of these things were happening? It's the first week. You're obviously a good student. You want to be on top of everything. You felt like you may have not had the opportunity so far. How do you deal with that stress as a young person?
Well, I pretty much kept on taking my naps. Really good for me. And I asked some questions to the teachers and I made sure to ask my classmates, what they were going through to see if, they can help me out. And that's pretty much what got me through it.
All right. So Megan of Wisdom,
Yes.
Tyrone, already. What's the key to managing stress, people? Take your naps. Very good, Tajay. Thank you. Um, Wyatt, Mr. Oroke, how about you? And then we're gonna go to Kenyarda for the parent perspective. How was it for you?
I had mixed emotions. It was a roller coaster all week. I mean, if I could take you to 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, we had all our links ready to go in Google Classroom. I thought I was rocking and rolling, and none of the links worked. Not a single link to any class worked. I got 150 phone calls Tuesday morning from scholars trying to get in because I'm the primary source of contact for our middle school. That was chaos. It was absolute and utter chaos. So I knew it from my end, so I could only imagine what a scholar is going through their first time experiencing that and the parents. Fortunately, I was able to quickly rework all the schedules and update everything, and we got scholars rocking and rolling within about 10, 20 minutes. And Wednesday was a lot smoother. Thursday was a lot smoother. Friday was a lot smoother. But we certainly are trying to learn best practices as we go. And so not kind of have my regular teacher toolkit of, oh, these are all the things I know that work and work well, was an incredible challenge. I am fortunate that I have, working contact numbers for all of my scholars and all of their parents, and I'm in regular daily communication with them. And so that has helped build a strong community at our school, but it was definitely a challenge and continue to be, today there were technical issues throughout the day that we were trying to address.
Thank you, Mr. Oroke. And if you don't mind me asking for the teachers that were in a similar predicament, you seem to be an unflappable gentleman. As we interviewed you some months ago. You seem to have the same kind of temperament. What did you do to kind of dance? I see that smile already to try to dance around that stress.
I wanted to take a nap, but I didn't feel like I had enough time to take a nap. I am just like, my teachers like to tell me I like to organize the chaos. Like that's what I do. And so in that moment of chaos, I was like, how can I organize this? And I opened up, all my Google Drives and Google Classrooms and all these schedules. And I just said, let me make sense out of this because In my mind, stressful teachers make stressful students, and stressful students don't learn. Like, we know those things to be true. So I needed to avoid stress myself. So I did not project that on scholars. And I continue to tell them throughout the day, as I have parents reach out to me, like, don't worry about that. Like, please don't stress if you can't get in. Here's the assignment. Explore it, see what you can do. I'm going to check in with you in 10 minutes. We're going to get it working. So limiting the stress from my end helps, I think, limit the stress scholars are feeling at home in that home space, and hopefully making, parents' lives a little bit easier also, because I can only imagine that stress that they're now taking on too.
Right. Kenyarda, it's wonderful to have you here with us today. We're always begging you, when is Kenyarda going to come on the show? So glad to have you. So welcome again. How was your first week with your beautiful ones?
The first week, just like everybody else mentioned, was a bit chaotic, but that was, to be expected. Just, from what we learned before the summer break and how things, were virtual learning. So we kind of expected that. The biggest thing for me now is kind of like, that first day, that new car feeling is like worn out now, especially for Kaylee, my oldest daughter, but the youngest that's in school. So, she was excited to see her friends and teacher the first day. And now it's just like I got to do this every day. So I'm having, trouble trying to keep her engaged. And it's only week 2. CJ, which is my son, he really seems to be enjoying it, especially because one of his teachers likes to show The Office, and he likes to show The Office. So the teacher is always like putting phrases about The Office into the lesson plans, and he just thinks it's amazing. But other than that, like I said, we kind of expected it to be, chaotic. So we kind of just, went with the flow and realized that this is something new for everybody, not just us, but, for the teachers, for the students, for everybody, and just kind of just let things, work its way out. So, yeah.
Thank you. And Tyrone, I know you're still opening the door and having folks come on in, but if you wouldn't mind, you gave us a little glimpse, offline as we were talking this week. How were you as a parent, sir? With Tajay and
Yeah, so yeah, for people who've heard us talk, like, I kind of have like day and night in the house with both of my girls. Interestingly, they've been on like the same wavelength though, because it's been the same thing. They attend the same school. One's just in high school and one's in middle school, and it seemed to be a school issue. I will share, it's cool I share with me. She just said, I wish my teacher was like Mr. Wyatt, listening to the way that he addressed the issues, because it wasn't like that for them. Like, they missed periods, throughout. So like that was frustrating, very much so. My oldest daughter wound up having to stay until like 4, it was about 4:15, which is an hour past school time, to get caught up on some of the stuff that she had missed the first couple of days. So it was a bit annoying. And then as a parent, because the naps means they miss stuff that I need them to do also around the house and stuff. And we were just dealing with a lot. It's been a crazy week for us because we had a puppy and we lost a puppy. Yeah, so that has been and then with school, so it's just been like a little weird for me, but really not even just with them, because of the field that I am in. You all know, and I have heard so many disencouraging stories about what's happened this first week, and the lack of trust that community members have in the system to be able to make it better. You know what I mean? Like, that's the hardest part for me, because it's like, I know that the district is doing some stuff. I know we have teachers like Mr. Wyatt, right? And principals like Ms. Dubai, and folks in the system that are trying to make things work and flow better and be as best as it can be. But unfortunately, that's the minority, right? Like, the majority it just seems to be those who don't care and let so many things slip through the crack. And so many people are just like, super frustrated. Like I've heard from Qua, who y'all know, one of our regulars, and she, she's like I'm pissed off because I'm trying to get on with my daughter and I can't get on. This is supposed to be set up for me to be able to get on also, and how about I can't get on? I can't get my son to sit and focus. I'm trying to manage 4 kids, during this time. And so it's been rough. And Kenyarda said it's new. But to an extent, because we had a small experience from March, right? So in a lot of people's minds, and in my mind also, is things should have been prepared a lot better. If they started from the end of last school year, preparing for virtual learning for the beginning of this school year, it could have been a lot better.
And I
Certainly.
piggyback, I'm sorry, to piggyback off of Tyrone, but I totally agree. I think that it all ties back to when they were having those discussion groups in the summertime, and it seems like they weren't really listening to parents. Kind of off topic, but kind of still on topic, because if you were, then some of these things could have kind of been avoided. Like we could have ran test programs over the summer to make sure links like Clever and Google Zoom and all of that stuff was working. If they were really working together with the parents like they say they were. So
Yeah, thank you, Kenyarda and Tyrone, because it's certainly a conversation we've had here on Parent Power Hour, is that many parents, and not just TDP, not just, the teachers union, but parents also were concerned that the PDs for teachers and these applications and the new way of virtual instruction was not being addressed early enough. Certainly that was the case. Tajay, I want to ask you about your school day. Matter of fact, let me say this before I ask you that, because Tyrone, we did have some Baltimore school system officials pretty adamantly say that the school day would definitely look different this fall than it did in March. We do remember that person saying that here.
Yep.
So Tajay, what was a school day like for you? Was it 7:30 on virtual class all day, or what was it like for you? And I'm sure your schedule probably fluctuated, but just can you give everyone an idea of what it was like for one day of class?
Yeah, so we actually go on and get on to Zoom, and we actually do go on. We start at 9 a.m. and then we're supposed to get out around like 3 o'clock. But some teachers, we get on Zoom, but we still do our work independently. So we do our work, and if we're done our work, they just let us off. We have lunch, but then we come back on and we have to go on to another class, and then we have 5 periods. And yeah, but it depends on when they let us out, and if it's someone who's on there that's not supposed to be on there and stuff. So it all depends, really.
So Tajay, if you're finished your assignment, you're allowed to leave the Zoom platform at that time for that class?
It depends on how many kids are done. Like if it's a lot done, then you can go ahead and leave. If you're not done yet, you still can leave because they don't want to hold you from your other period class. But it's teachers who have, their connection is bad, so they just be like, go ahead and just go do your work. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't get finished, and you can just try to do it tomorrow.
Thank you, Tajay. Mr. O'Rourke, and the question is for you too. And we recall that Baltimore City teachers last year were really one of the only school districts where teachers were live every day when the pandemic hit. Most of the districts were maybe once or twice a day check-in. I have some good friends in Prince George's County, and that gentleman is a special ed teacher and told me that maybe twice a week they did a check-in. The rest of the week was pretty much autonomous learning. And I thought and I felt just from my school that it was quite a strain for teachers to be on every day in these classes. That's what it felt like to me that they were communicating. What has the week been like so far from your perspective?
Our school runs a very similar schedule to what Tajay was mentioning, right? We run 9 to 3, 6 45-minute core class blocks, a 25-minute lunch break, and there's a 45-minute resource class as well. So the scholars have 7 different academic blocks with a lunch break. It is an incredibly long, exhausting day. I want to be candid that as a teacher, I was opposed to the schedule being this long for scholars. I think it is not appropriate to have scholars sit in front of screens for 6 hours. And I don't mind saying that here because Dr. Santelises and Chief Davis know exactly how I feel because I've expressed my concern there. We ran pilot programs over the summer with our scholars to see what works, like what actually makes sense. And we found that about 3.5 hours in front of a screen is when a scholar will max out, and engagement goes significantly down after that 3.5 hour range. And so what I've noticed when we've entered back into this space is that's exactly what's happening, right? By the time we hit 12:30, scholar engagement goes down. We start to lose attendance, and it creates some issues with the content that's happening after that kind of lunch resource break. So exactly what kind of we thought could happen, happened. And so now we as a school have to decide how can we keep scholars locked in and engaged for that 6-hour block, and how can we get creative? And the first thing that we did at the middle school level was use the flex day that high schoolers have on a Wednesday, which is more small group time and some of that asynchronous independent work time. We used that last Friday for the first time because we said this is already too long for scholars. That helped our scholar engagement. We'll be using it again this Wednesday, so scholars do not have to sit in front of a screen for 6 hours. They can take that screen break, but we know that this learning in front of a screen for so long is not going to be a productive way for scholars to learn. That's just like fundamentally the truth. It is not going to create the academic results that we need in this city right now.
Thank you, Mr. Oroke. And we had talked to the district about the possibility of what we kind of loosely coined as academic leniency. While people were getting accustomed to the new way of doing things, especially really we're thinking about our students. And if you are trying to set a curriculum based on screen time hours, you're just not going to have the kind of impact that you should have. And you're going to get those kind of moments. Go ahead, Mr. Oroke.
Yeah, 2 comments about that and why it frustrates me so much. One, we're mistaking like screen time for like rigor. And for whatever reason, we believe that the amount of time someone's on is somehow connected to how well they do academically. That's not true, right? If I get a really good hour with Tajay, that's a lot better than 6 hours of her not engaged. We just fundamentally know that's true. The second thing that drives me crazy is if we go back to February, when scholars were in classes for 7 hours, we know that traditional schooling in Baltimore City was failing tens of thousands of scholars, specifically Black and brown scholars. Traditional academic school schedules do not work for our scholars. We need to find new and creative ways. So why in the world we decide to try and implement those same racist and white supremacist structures and systems in the fall blows my mind, right? This is our chance to get creative with how we implement instruction to our scholars. And so I would really push us as a district to say, how can we really engage with these scholars in a way that's going to push academic success? Because what we were doing in February didn't work in person, so it's sure not going to work in September now on a camera screen.
Tyrone, we need to come up with some kind of symbol for nuggets. I don't know how we're going to do it, but Tajay dropped one. Mr. Oroke just dropped a couple there. Thank you very much for that. And it is something that, quite frankly, our audience and the people that really support this program have asked. And when the folks from the district were on, they kind of pilloried them with questions around this way of learning. Kenyarda, how about you? As a parent being there, you kind of spoke to it a little bit, but how was that to be, and your little ones are particularly young, How was it to help them facilitate that whole time? I don't know. We'll come back.
Yeah.
Tyrone, you have anything from the hotline?
Yeah, so of course we are, and we haven't done it. We've been entrenched in such good conversation with our guests. But as always, we like to welcome and thank everyone who's watching. We are booming, and our groups in there. The folks are on and totally. I mean, giving I'm just seeing so much love for Mr. Wyatt. Tajay's getting a lot of love and saying she's so cute and funny. Don't act like you'll hit me. But no. Okay, she may be back now. But I want to remind you all to continue to share the live, you all. Please, I see you. Some folks are doing it. Continue to share the live, push out. Thank folks who are watching. Of course, we have Joanne here, Adina, Kamisha, Nataki, Shakia. I just want Michael Cheney. Thank you as always for joining us. And I'm not gonna call out everybody. I had to go through groups. But I want to make a couple of points that came through. To Kenyarda's point, Kenyarda had made a point about Kenyarda had made a point about the parents not being included in some of the processes that took place. And we have a comment that said, and they also ignored teacher input based on real life efforts to engage students, and want to know why. That's a great point made, and I don't know who to ask that to. I don't think we can ask that because we wanted it to be that way, and we felt like teachers, parents, and students should have been played a big role in that process. Then Mr. O, how would you change things? What would your ideal day look like with COVID and without?
Mr. O, before you answer that, who's that, Tyrone?
Huh?
Who asked that question? Who was that?
One of our hold on. Wow, wait a minute.
The problem is, Mr. O, every time we have a high profile guest such as yourself, somebody somehow sneaks into my notes and asks the questions from the audience perspective. I just want to know what's it.
We'll erase it, and William, you can ask it.
It's too late now. What would you change, Mr. O, if you could?
So let me first say that I have proposed multiple schedules to both the district level and my school level staff that's different. So it's not like just some foreign concept to me. I would ensure that English and math instruction occur every single day. I think scholars should be engaged with that for around 1 hour a day, especially at the secondary middle school level. I'm a 7th and 8th grade teacher, so I'm going to speak to what I know. They should then get 1 hour of either science or history instruction. They should have an asynchronous 30-minute resource block when they can explore PE, art, music, or something like that on their own. There's your 3.5 hours you get. In a world for me where I teach 7th and 8th graders, I recommended me teaching the 3 7th grade classes in the morning. So my 7th grade scholars would be working from about 9 to 12. And then I switch over and teach my 8th grade scholars from 12 to 3. Well, Mr. O, how are you going to spend the other 3 hours, right? We can pull small group for scholars who need additional intervention. We have scholars with IEPs and 504s who need individualized help. And we have English language learners who are struggling to access this platform. I need my educators free to reach out to those scholars and those families and pull them into small groups with 2 to 3. So some scholars might be getting 4.5 hours of this synchronous instruction, but I have scholars who are going to be academically there who need that solid 3.5 hour block. And then they need those other 2.5 hours to either do some self-care, self-help, deal with the trauma that is, facing our entire country right now. I need them healthy mentally, socially, and emotionally if I'm going to push academics for 3 hours. So that's kind of my simple recommendation is English, math every day. Let's rotate science and history so they get it twice a week. And then let's find some more time for strategic small group instruction. Is my recommendation.
There you have it. Tyrone, anything else? Tajay?
Does Tajay like that?
I do. That's what I wanted to say. I really appreciate you saying that because, everything you said basically, because it really is hard to sit on a computer every day and, be on there for all them hours. Because, after after I come back from lunch, like I'm okay in that period, but then it's like as the time goes on, I'm getting more tired, and and then we go into breakout rooms and no one's talking, so you even have to do the workout by yourself. So it's really hard to just sit there and do it. Like once we were in school and everyone's there, it was a little easier to come back from that because there was other people who was there that could lift you up or get you back working and stuff. But it's really hard to sit on a computer every day for all those hours, and you might not have a desk or something, so you're bending over and looking at the computer. Then some people don't even have a computer, and you have to do it on your phone, and it's really hard to access everything. So I really do want to say I really like that idea, and I really appreciate you saying that.
Do you want to tell them what else you said? Okay, she's being shy, Mr. Y. She enjoys you. She's sitting. She said, "I'm in love. I love." Like so. Anyway, I will.
Tajay, that is what we call a dad moment. Your father just did a dad moment to you on this live here.
Well, she said I do it every day. Oh well, you're used to it. Good. Okay, no, I will share. Okay, Ryan Kaiser says, I think students would really like the county students schedule. Entire Wednesday is independent work in small groups. So that's something else that came through. You all continue to comment, and Mr. Wyatt, you are honestly getting a lot of I like hims. That's right. Why isn't he at the head of the district? How do we get him in a position to change things so people are in support of what you are saying and thinks that it will work? Yes, they ignored teacher input, taught 2 1-hour sessions in the spring, and it worked. They should focus on quality instruction and not long hours. Office hours are great too, so we can work with scholars who need help. Cross-curricular teaching works for elementary grades. I currently do lots of sociomotor and dancing throughout the day to help my babies. I teach second grade, 4 hours and 15 minutes of screen time for us minus lunchtime.
Wow. Thank you. Who's that, Tyrone?
Is Miss Yvette Reed. She's a top fan. She's always watching. I'm not sure what school she is from because she could be from our DMV educators group. Or when again, y'all, we share in multiple groups. It's a lot of folks I just go through and catch various stuff. So I'm not sure. Yvette, if you want to share a little bit more with us, please let us know and we'll share.
Yes, thank you, Miss Reed, for your comments. 4 hours, 15 minutes for second graders is just, it's that's unbelievable. Tajay, we think of, at least us older folks think of school as one of the places where we learn to make friends, we met new people, and part of, the learning and the growing process in education was the social aspect. Do you think you'll be able to create friendships with some of the folks who you don't know virtually? Look at that face. I think I already know the answer. Do you think how difficult will that be? Is that something you're interested in? What's your perspective about making virtual friends in the virtual classroom at the virtual school?
It's difficult because many people are focused on actually like passing, and like because this year is like our last year in middle school, so you really want to try your hardest, but it is a little hard to make friends when you either in the whole chat, like the whole Zoom, and and they have to put us on mute because it's people who come into the classroom who are not a part of the classroom, and they do inappropriate things, say inappropriate things, so you can't really just be off mute and be like, oh hey, because it's you can't really do that. And then it's in a chat room, you can talk in there, but it's like you really not making no connection or making friends by texting and chat room because you can't really say what you want in there. So it's pretty hard to make friends, I guess, virtually.
Thank you, ma'am. So eloquent, Tyrone. You are doing a masterful job of raising that young lady. Mr. O, what do you think? Impact on the virtual impact on students and being social with one another.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest challenges I think we face coming into this is how do we continue to get kids to just engage and have a chance to talk to each other, right? So the first area I push educators on is how are they starting their classes, right? Mine are not academic focused starts. We do a temperature check. Today it was what flavor ice cream best describes how you're feeling today emotionally. Every scholar types into the chat. Scholars share out, come off mute and share out. Then I ask them their favorite part of their weekend, what they're looking forward to this week, and their goal for the week. Scholars get engaged, start to share out and see ways that they can connect with one another and can put that stuff in the chat. The second thing that we're looking at is what are safe spaces that we can set up for scholars. Today, my lunchroom was open. Scholars came in, talked. They played tic-tac-toe on my whiteboard, right? They were just in communication, in communion with each other. And then I hold office hours that aren't academic focused either, right? It's a chance to come in and just talk with your friends. You four want to hop on this Zoom link? Good, hop in here. I'm sitting in here so we know it's a safe space for you to be, and no one's going to come in here who's not supposed to be in here. Just talk and be a kid, right? You're 12 and 13. You're supposed to talk to your friends. That's what's supposed to happen. And so it is, part of my job as a teacher to say, what spaces am I creating for my scholars to still connect with one another? It is a challenge, I'm not going to lie, but we can make it happen, right? And I have been fundamentally opposed to the ideas of muting all scholars, right? Especially when they're not allowed to unmute themselves, and shutting off the chat, right? Those are fundamentally problematic and racist ideas that educators should be in complete control of classrooms. The most successful classrooms are student-centered classrooms. So educators need to ensure that that's still happening virtually. It's harder, it takes more effort, more time, and more strategic planning, but it's possible to create student-centered classrooms in this space. So you got to be real intentional with when kids are allowed to just talk and communicate with one another and what that looks like.
Thank you, Mr. O. If I can go back to what you were talking about earlier, the importance of allowing those students that space to come into the classroom on your lunch period, to play the games, to ask these circle questions, these virtual circle questions, and have them not only respond in the chat, but also to speak. Can you give us why is that important? Like, why does that matter? Because there are some people who are looking at it like, what are you talking? You don't need to do any of that. What is the philosophy behind that?
I know that in order for a scholar to engage academically, they have to feel comfortable and safe. We know that is true whether we are in person or virtually. So I ask myself, how do I create a safe space where scholars are comfortable all day long? And I do that by knowing my scholars and them knowing one another. That's how, Zoom cameras come on because they feel comfortable and safe in the space. That's how kids share out and share their feelings and emotions. And that's how we get kids to actually engage. Because when I put in front of them a really hard writing task, if they don't trust me, they're not going to do well academically on it. But if they know that I'm going to put in front of them something that they can do, that they can engage with, even if it's hard, they're going to want to get that done. They're going to want to engage with that. And so creating that safe space allows for me to make much more significant academic growth than I would if a kid was uncomfortable or didn't want to be there, right? Kids don't learn from people they don't like. That's just how simple it is, right? And so I need to ensure that my scholars and I understand that I love them very much and I have a mutual level of respect for them.
Thank you, Mr. O, for explaining that very, very significant and salient points to take home. Kenyarda, it is perfect. I asked a question, and if I had, if I was sensitive, I would think that you were ignoring me because you had your back to me, but it was perfect because that's probably what you were dealing with this week as the kids were learning. You have had to be pulled in all different kinds of directions. And that was a question I left off and wanted to hear your response to it was, while your children were engaged online, how was it for you? Were you tied up with being with them, monitoring them the whole time? I mean, how did you manage your time?
So we had been practicing, beforehand, well, as much as we could with logging in. Like I said, I have a 6-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. So just practicing with the 6-year-old with logging in and, trying to get herself acquainted with some of those things. But yes, like you said, it definitely it was wild, because then although CJ is older, it's still some things he doesn't understand because again, it's new for everybody. So he's asking me questions. He's asking me questions, and then I have also so I kind of try to get her into with putting her on ABC mode. Everybody's asking me so many questions at the same time, and no matter how much I feel like, oh, I got this, I've had quite a few moments where I'm like, I can't wait to at the end of the day. So again, my hat goes off to the teachers because I dealing with classrooms is 20 plus. So hats off to the teachers. And I just keep reminding myself is like, it's going to be okay. Like I'm just give it your best shot. And that's also something I have to tell my 6-year-old every day. I have to tell her, like, I understand this is new for you, it's new for us all, but I really need you to give it your best. I really need you to give it your best shot. So that's all we can do is just give it our best shot.
Salient advice for her and for the parents out there that are going through the same struggle, especially with younger scholars such as yours. And Kenyarda, I'm just going to follow up and ask you if you could speak directly to the district and ask them for some changes with what you've experienced this week. What would it be? What would they be?
Definitely the amount of screen time. Just piggyback off Mr. Wyatt. Screen time. Like, is it really necessary? Is it really necessary? With just seeing, that first half of the day is like it's okay, but then that second half of the day is just like, are you, you're not really getting much from the student. So it's kind of like it's it. So I'm just at a loss for words right now. I'm actually one of those days. I'm not gonna lie. Today was one of those days to get my daughter to be more attentive to what's going on, and she's 6. So just trying to get her to pay attention and not lay across the floor. One side. Because in her mind is just like home is a place of relaxation. Home is not school. So trying to the hours. And that's all I got right now. I think that if they have shorter hours, the kids will probably do a lot better.
Thank you, Kenyarda. Tyrone, hotline.
Yeah, well, we have a couple of thoughts here, and I want to. I want to chime in, but I'm going to shut my lips and just share the people thoughts here. But I will, before I go ahead, also say as a parent, Mr. Wyatt definitely made a point about student-centered classrooms being super important. I'm actually arranging a meeting right now with one of my 9th grade teachers whose demands for that classroom are like, you better be on camera, you better do this. It's just like a lot of you betters. And I'm like, I've been a single parent for 10 years now, and I don't remember us getting in a relationship that you are a parent of my child. So we have to, no, seriously, like I heard it today. I heard it the way she did it. And I had to just kind of step back. So I didn't want to make a scene in a classroom, but I'm like, oh yeah, we got to set up a conference because that behavior is just not acceptable. But to go share out there, I want to just share some of the comments that we got quick that are definitely important. The schedule is the same for 1st through 5th grade, yet developmentally, those ages are so different. I do appreciate Mr. O saying that more than 3.5 hours is a waste for all ages. Also, morning meetings help with social emotional health and learning. We do it daily at our school. We have lunch bunch We don't log off for lunch due to tech issues. The children talk, eat, and listen to music. They love this. A parent just messaged me about how her daughter loves this. Awesome. Mute seems necessary and horrible. How can you possibly get to know students, have them get to know each other, or have any spontaneous learning shifts when we mute children? Absolutely. Our Mr. Cheney shared with us that he works with special ed students, and their schedule is 9 p.m. to 1 p.m. and then 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. is office hours for them to help and support. Awesome. April, it's hard for students to get that social part in virtual. I work with kindergartners and they so need that time and space to interact with each other. Mute is needed to keep order, but it's in how you use it. Sometimes it is loud in some homes, which makes it hard for us to focus. We mute mics when a speaker is speaking, but the children get to speak. They participate a lot. They determine the pace of things, and they are very active in class. I follow their lead. It's a lot for our younger learners, and that's the part. Like I do get that, and welcome Denise, Octavia, April, and all of the other folks that are coming into us, and we welcome you and appreciate you all. Share this live so that other persons can hear what they've already missed and go back and watch it and host parties and all of that good stuff. I guess I just, as a parent, I'm just thinking as a parent, in the part that kind of got me, and I get it, like I know some homes are loud and you have stuff going on, and I agree with the point and how you use it. So but the way like that I heard my daughter's teacher use it, it's just that control, you know what I mean, and that whole sense of, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I know we have to figure out something, but I can feel it as a parent. I know them kids can, and I feel like it creates, like it creates hostile environments when students feel like you ain't my parent. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. So when you come at them with that approach, like I'm running this, you know what I mean, and this is the way that you're going to do it. No, I'm not an educator. However, I've worked with youth and young adults since I was a young adult, and I have been in that space. And you get a better response and you work better with them when you meet them where they are and you include them in what's going on. Look like Mr. Owen. You look like Mr. O.
Ron, you and I really connect well with so many things. I just wanted to build on that in a couple ways. First, teachers need to humble themselves in this moment. We don't know what the best practices are. I don't know if the data actually tells me if a scholar's camera's on, their academic success goes up. I don't know that. So I need to humble myself when I set these expectations. Two, when we think about mute, there's a significant difference between asking scholars to mute themselves during specific parts of the lesson and putting the security setting in Zoom that does not allow them to unmute themselves when necessary, right? Those are like two significant things. And they tell us very different things about how a teacher's approaching it, right? Do I control when scholars speak? Or do I not? And as a white educator, I better not control when Black voices are allowed in my classroom, because that is fundamentally racist. Let's be very clear and candid about that security setting. And I think the final piece is teachers and the district need to remember who our bosses are, especially in this moment. We far too often forget who our bosses are, but we have 80,000 plus of them sitting in homes in Baltimore City right now, right? I see several of them on my screen. My scholars and their parents are my boss. It's as simple as that. I will do whatever right for them. I don't care what is right for people at the district level. I don't care what's right for school administration. They're not my bosses as far as I'm concerned. And I say that as, let me be candid, the Baltimore City Teacher of the Year 2020 and a finalist for the Maryland Teacher of the Year 2020. So let me be clear that that's not coming from a place of, I'm a lazy teacher, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's coming from a place of, I've been recognized as knowing what I'm talking about because I listen to scholars and parents. That's how I find success.
Wow. Yes.
Nuggets.
Yeah,
We
no.
got we get nuggets. I think that's gonna be the sign for us. Nuggets. So you know I don't even have any. I was gonna say final thoughts, but I don't know if there's anything left to be said after that. Kenyarda, is there anything you would like to say before we begin to wrap up?
I feel like I just went to church. Like I just got a word, okay? I got tears in my eyes, chills down my back. Like we need more teachers like that. I'm serious. I'm
Serious.
so serious. You know, that unapologetically not afraid to, realize like our children come first. You hear a lot of people that talk that Mr. Wyatt is really well. I'm like over here, like, yeah. So
All right. Yes, absolutely. And it seems like and it sounds like just like before. Well, it's funny. Like, what did we have 100 at the time that Mr. O was first on our broadcast, and now we're up in the thousands. And so good. We have many more people who are becoming familiar with this bright star in our educational front line. Tyrone, final thoughts? Before
Um,
we go to Tajay, I want to hear her final thoughts after you.
okay. That was power. I had mad. So as I share again, I'm not just making this up, y'all. And y'all that's on our page, Mr. Wyatt, they are blowing you up. The diamond emojis, the hand claps, the everything. Kenyarda, if you need some help with your little ones, you can reach out to me. This is a teacher. I will share her email with you. She shared her email. We just had put that was so powerful. I have mad respect for you. It's nothing to say after that. They agreed with what I shared, and then Mr. Wyatt coming and following up. Thank you, Miss Yvette, for saying also that I don't like that either and using that function in the way that some does use that mute function on Zoom. I hear you, Tyrone. I can say my stuff, but I just would say the last time we were together also with Mr. Wyatt, again, small views, I felt like I almost was mesmerized in that space because I had never heard a teacher, I've heard teachers say things that sound good and seem to be right, but never actually felt the genuineness like with it, right? Never seen the work put in with it to follow exactly what they say. So I honestly appreciate that. I'm not going to put my daughter on the spot again and do that, but don't say it under your breath, but the seriousness is I do wish that they had teachers like that throughout their educational path, and like growth like would have been amazing. Also, just to you and Rebecca and to our guests and watchers, I think we have really ran into amazing models, right, of educators, and that may be something that we need to look at doing also, right? Because we've definitely met a model principal, right? We've met a model teacher, and with this, I'm like, we really need to also use this space to highlight these folks, and put these folks out there and share, like really get it out there. And I understand Mr. Wyatt and other folks are busy and have stuff going on, but we have to find a way to put them out there. I'm glad that he came back at a time where our numbers are booming. We've reached like 5,000 people a show. So definitely word is going to get out there of who you are, but that needs to triple. That needs to triple during a time like this. And what's going on, it's definitely what we need. So thank you, Mr. O. I love this show. I also do want to share that on September the 23rd, there's a school board meeting. Let's speak out against too many let's speak out against these hours, these erroneous hours, right? Like, let's speak out, parents. We've heard an educator say it. We've heard it from Kenyarda, who's a parent. We've heard it from a student. We've heard it from another parent, right? Like, these hours let's go to the school board and speak out I mean, that's where our voice can be heard at. That's one place. We could talk about it on here all day, but if we don't take it there, then all we're doing is talking about it here. So parents, folks who are watching, share it, put it out there. We normally put together a video. We got 3 minutes to testify. If we can get as many faces as we can saying that we want this to change, you know what I mean? Like, let's get 100 faces on this video saying that this needs to change in 3 minutes. I mean, that could be like impactful, and hopefully you know, they think about something. So I'll shut my lips now because I can go.
Well, Tyrone, on that note, how do we get the parents?
So reach out to me, Tyrone at tdpbaltimore.org, Rebecca at tdpbaltimore.org. If you're interested in, you know, in being a part of this video or sharing, testifying, and you're in line, you know, with that, you can reach out to us. Message us on Facebook, comment on Facebook on a post. We go, we look, we'll check it out, and I promise you, we will get with you. And it's the 23rd, so we have a little bit of time to get this done. And then he
Thank
said,
you, sir. Tajay, final thoughts. We want to thank you, but we want to hear your final thoughts about the week, or any advice you give to scholars, or what would you like to say here remaining?
I have to say that pretty much agree with everything that was said today, because I feel like most of the teachers that, like, you know, at my school or my teachers feel that they have to be in control to have like the students listen, or they have to be in control of everything. The mute button, we have to have our cameras on. It's like rules where, so if we don't got a camera on, then we're not there and stuff. And there's other things that can be going on in a household, the ways though you can't have your camera on, or you can't answer right away at that moment, you know, and teachers make it impossible, like not impossible, really hard to like really be there when they're making up all these rules and you have to sit down all day and on a computer. It's really hard to, you know, really listen and stuff when you don't like the teacher. So
Thank you, Tajay. Mr. O, I know we've already said it, but any final thoughts just before we close out?
I think my final thoughts is what I said earlier. Don't forget who your bosses are. Teachers, don't forget who your bosses are. Parents, don't forget that you are my boss, right? It's as simple as that. Don't have your scholars forget that they are my boss every time they wake up. And so any way I can continue to leverage my voice and my platform to support the work of parents and scholars, I will do it. And I will continue to, I like to say, sharpen my white privilege elbows to create space for Black and brown scholars in this city. And I will throw these elbows around as needed. So thank you all for the time today. You know, I appreciate being in here in this space and community with you all.
please make sure we copy both of them. The 80,000 boss part, I mean, that needs to be used in language and sharpening his white elbows. Good God.
And throwing them around. Please.
Throw them both.
Please.
Please copy that. That language needs to be used in our damn testimony to the district on the 23rd. Also, remind them who the bosses are. Parents, remember that. Please understand your power and that's a whole nother show. Go, brother. I'm gonna let you close out your show, and I'm going to just shut on up.
No problem. We do want to thank you once again, Mr. O. Ms. Tajay, you were just magnificent. I'm just looking forward to the future and hearing you one day doing or seeing you do whatever it is that you have decided in your brilliant mind to do. Ms. Kenyarda, again, it was a pleasure. Thank you for taking your busy time and afternoon to be with us. Tyrone, as always. And speaking of Tyrone, now y'all got to show up on Thursday at Tyrone's house. Don't forget Tyrone's house. Mr. O, come on over. 5 o'clock virtually. Tyrone will let you in the door 5 o'clock as we carry this conversation. Tyrone does it in a way that only he can, with the Tyrone Barnwell style. But come on by Thursday as he continues to help us as parents leverage what we have to do better by our scholars and our children. Thank y'all so much for joining us. You are the numbers. You are making and driving the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you Thursday. Be blessed, everybody. Be safe. We still have a pandemic going on. Be safe.